Shinya Yukimura and Aomi Himuro are really smart students at Saitama University. One day, Himuro tells Yukimura that she loves him, but he doesn't know what to say. He asks her to explain what love is. Himuro tries to explain using math, like how much time she spends looking at him and how her heart beats faster when she's around him. They both think love can be explained with math. Another student, Konoha, thinks they're acting crazy. To test their idea, Yukimura tries a move from a romantic comic where he pins Himuro against a wall and measures her heart rate. They find that getting physically close has the strongest effect on her heart rate, but Yukimura worries that they might be mistaking love for something else. They do the experiment 100 times, but the wall move becomes less effective over time. Himuro compares Yukimura's move to a sumo wrestler's move, which isn't romantic at all. Konoha believes love is about emotions and tells a story about falling in love with her high school teacher. But Yukimura breaks down her story using math and asks for more details about her romantic past. Himuro gets mad at him for being too demanding, so he tries the wall move again, determined to prove that love can be explained with math. This makes her heart beat faster once more. Konoha explains that they do research in information science, trying to use math to understand things in human, social, and natural sciences. But their advisor, Ina Ibarata, doesn't do research and spends all day playing games. Now it's Yukimura's turn to have his heart rate measured, but he tries to run away before they can collect embarrassing data. So Konoha and Himuro tie him up. When Yukimura strokes Himuro's hair, his heart rate goes up a lot. Ibarata suggests doing the test with someone other than Himuro. When Yukimura's heart rate also goes up for Konoha and Ibarata, Himuro thinks he's being weird, but Yukimura explains that women make him nervous, which is why his heart rate goes up. Himuro gets mad at him anyway. Konoha is having a hard time figuring out what to write for her thesis. She sees Himuro and Yukimura trying to cook a meal to see if love makes food taste better. They do all sorts of complicated tests. Konoha suggests a blind taste test where one dish is cooked with love and the other is just regular. But Himuro messes it up by drawing a love note on the dish. Yukimura says her dish is the best because the love note itself contains love. But they don't come to any conclusions because everyone gets too embarrassed. Konoha goes back to working on her thesis and realizes that Himuro and Yukimura were actually cooking a meal for her because she didn't have lunch. She finds it delicious. Yukimura and Himuro decide to talk to someone who's in love to learn more about it. Their classmate Kosuke Inukai says he has a girlfriend named Eika and has spent a lot of money on her and holds her every night. Himuro gets worried because she's only spent a little money on Yukimura and held him once during an experiment. But then, Ibarata, who's friends with Kozuki, reveals that Eika is actually a character from a dating sim game, and he has a body pillow with her picture on it. Yukimura says it's okay because people have different preferences when it comes to romance. Based on Kozuki's situation, Himuro thinks she might not really love Yukimura. Yukimura gets nervous and takes back what he said earlier, thinking Kozuki is too strange to learn about love from. Himuro tells Konoha that she was bullied when she was a kid, but then she met a boy who was also bullied but didn't let it bother him. He told her that if she dressed better and looked happier, people would treat her better. This advice influenced the way she dresses now. Konoha realizes that the boy who helped Himuro was obviously Yukimura, but neither Yukimura nor Himuro have figured it out. Konoha gets frustrated with how oblivious they are and tells them to go on a normal date. They decide to go to an amusement park and plan the most efficient route to experience the 22 most romantic moments at the park. After that, Konoha makes Yukimura officially ask Himuro on the date, which makes her really happy when he does. Himuro and Yukimura show up for their date in their lab coats, all ready to follow their planned date route, but Kennedy insists that they should dress casually for the date. In addition to measuring their heart rates and temperatures, Ibarata suggests they keep track of when they feel happy, uncertain, scared, and even when they want to cuddle. Konoha has a tough time keeping Himuro and Yukimura focused on the date instead of collecting data. Yukimura decides not to hold Himuro's hand, which upsets her, and she starts to walk away. But then, a troublemaker tries to ask her out forcefully, so she confuses him with a complicated scientific rejection. Annoyed, he grabs her arm and Yukimura steps in to help. When the troublemaker argues, Yukimura surprises everyone by showing evidence that suggests he's attracted to Himuro, but it doesn't prove he loves her. This makes the troublemaker embarrassed, and Himuro finds Yukimura's outburst very attractive. They end up leaving while holding hands. At the amusement park, they continue to hold hands but keep getting distracted by scientifically analyzing the physics of the rides. They do this mostly to distract themselves from being scared of the rides. When they get on the Ferris wheel, Yukimura breaks from the plan and gives Himuro a pair of earrings. Himuro looks at their data and concludes that they had fun, but should repeat the experiment to be sure. Yukimura and Himuro plan to share their data at their lab's meeting with Professor Ikeda Kashin. He's usually easygoing, but when he's mad, he can be terrifying. During the meeting, Professor Ikeda surprises everyone by announcing a joint training camp with 3 other universities. Kanade and Kosuke have to attend and present their thesis ideas. But the problem is Kosuke hasn't even started working on his thesis, and that makes Professor Ikeda very angry. Things get even more confusing when Yukimura and Himuro present their love data, which they mostly use to tease each other. Even though Professor Ikeda is a bit annoyed that they're spending less time on their usual scientific research, he decides that their love research is interesting. He thinks it could even become a valuable study on the psychology of love. So they all agree that they need more couples to participate in their experiments. Ibarata pairs Kosuke with Yukimura for fun. Kosuke challenges her to a hugging experiment to see who gets affected the most. Himuro pairs Yukimura with Kanade, but she messes up the experiment because she's jealous. Ibarata easily wins the contest with Kosuke by pretending to be Eka, which makes his heart race. Then she beats him again by talking about their childhood friendship, which brings back memories. While studying Kosuke's heart rate data, Ibarata suggests that Yukimura and Himuro should try kissing as part of their research. They plan to do a kiss experiment, but Himuro isn't too excited about having their first kiss be part of an experiment. Kanade agrees that a kiss should happen when the moment feels right. So Himuro and Yukimura, with some help from Ibarata, Kokonoha, and not-so-helpful input from Kosuke, start designing their experiment. They figure out that for the experiment, they need a nice, quiet place with soft lighting, no other people around, and they should look into each other's eyes for about 30 seconds. After a lot of research, they decide the best place is the university roof at sunset. As a control measure, they decide to have other people try kissing first. Yukimura tries to kiss Kanade, but ends up kissing her hand. Ibarata kisses Himuro, making Yukimura jealous. Kosuke kisses Himuro's hand, but she doesn't feel anything. Himuro has a sweet moment with Kanade and kisses her on the forehead, and they both get embarrassed. Yukimura and Kosuke end up getting into a fight. Yukimura runs away from Ibarata, and she and Kosuke start playing games instead. Kosuke and Kanade accidentally have an indirect kiss through a teacup. Finally, Yukimura and Himuro decide to give their kiss a try. They realize that the mood is just right, but unfortunately, they get interrupted by a helicopter flying by the sun setting before they're ready, and the janitor wanting to lock the roof door, which really ruins the mood. Himuro gets annoyed and demands that they kiss anyway, even if the mood isn't perfect. So Yukimura kisses her hair and promises that one day they'll have a kiss of the highest theoretical value. It turns out to be perfect in its own special way. The residents of the lab throw a party to celebrate the end of the semester and play their traditional party game where they recite prime numbers. Kanade has never studied prime numbers, so Himuro explains their scientific significance, and even that one of mathematics' greatest unsolved problems, the Riemann hypothesis, involves prime numbers. Himuro gets drunk and starts acting very clingy around Yukimura, while Kosuke strangely does the same with Ibarata. Ikeda drinks too much and falls asleep. Kanade also gets drunk and scolds Yukimura and Himuro for not becoming a normal couple already. She also admits an incident in high school led to her trying her hardest to fit in and seem normal. With only Yukimura left sober, he reads a book while everyone sleeps. With the failure of the kiss experiment, they decide to extract love data from fairy tales, such as Cinderella and the Tale of the Bamboo Cutter, despite Yukimura bemoaning their lack of realism. In the end, they make no progress that day, but they decide that is not such a bad thing. In the post-credits, they give their take on the Crane Wife story. With less than a month until the training camp, Kosuke has gotten no further on his research and is hopelessly depressed. Ikeda suggests Kosuke finds science in his everyday life, such as NP hardness and complex dating sim or chaos theory in the random trajectory of a soccer ball. Yukimura criticizes Kanade's presentation skills, citing the 10,000 hours rule, then demands a sample of her saliva. Himuro reveals they want to measure oxytocin, Haka, the love hormone that is released when in physical contact with a loved one. Their hope is that they can accurately identify who a person is in love with. As an example, Yukimura shows the embarrassing video of Himuro drunk at the party, which Himuro did not know existed. They decide a 1-minute hug will suffice for physical contact, but both become overwhelmed after only a few seconds. Yukimura plans to present their oxytocin research at the training camp. Erika Yamamoto, an ex-student of Ikeda's, arrives at the lab and becomes interested in Himuro and Yukimura. She reveals she is an amateur manga artist and asks permission to turn them into a manga series. They agree, hoping they can collect love data from everyone who reads it. Ikeda invites Erika to the training camp, which he reveals is in Okinawa. When Erika becomes excited about all the erotic scenes she could draw of Himuro and Yukimura, they begin to regret accepting her offer. Yukimura is punished by Himuro for trying to conduct experiments on the plane. Kanade expresses interest in the physics of flight, so Himuro explains about Lift and Bernoulli's principle while struggling with her impulse to cuddle Yukimura. They find their hotel is unusually luxurious and learn Erika paid for it, despite being a starving artist, in the hope luxury will cause Yukimura and Himuro to be romantic and provide material for her manga. On the beach, Yukimura is embarrassed that Himuro is 2.34 times more attractive in a bikini. Yuichi, the delinquent from the amusement park, is in Okinawa but flees after seeing Himuro. They play watermelon splitting, but Kosuke is unable to follow Ibarata's complex playing directions. Himuro and Yukimura begin physical contact experiments, but due to the amount of exposed skin are too embarrassed. Yukimura gets in an argument with the others about which type of hug offers the largest amount of skin contact. Due to Himuro's large bust creating distance between them, Ibarata and Erika try to force Yukimura to hug Kosuke instead to avoid the bust problem. Ibarata tortures Kosuke with their childhood beach memories. Yuichi decides to seduce Ibarata, but when he grabs her arm, Kosuke beats him up, only to learn they were playing games on their phones, and Ibarata humiliates him for overreacting but is secretly glad he did. Ikeda reveals to Kanade and Kosuke their presentations will be in front of the world's most famous geniuses, scientists, and professors. Yukimura barges into Himuro's room, making her believe he wants physical intimacy, only for him to begin preparing Kanade for her presentation. Himuro realizes she wants to be closer with Yukimura at times when it is impossible, in accordance with the behavioral reactance rule, and believes she is responding to their lack of intimacy by craving more. The first presentation is given by Shigeku Noya, one of Yuichi's friends on Nash equilibrium, non-cooperative game theory, and the taboo search principle, but he is kicked off stage by his own professor for failing to adequately prepare. Kosuke presents his research into NP hardness and longest path and shortest path problems. Despite the erotic content, Professor Kaku, a famous scientist, is forced to agree his research has value given the recent creation of national gaming championships. Kanade begins to panic, so Yukimura hugs her, which is seen by Himuro. Kanade becomes angry, so Yukimura explains he was attempting to raise her cortisol levels to calm her. She presents her thesis on the traveling salesman problem and latent variables using Yukimura and Himuro's perfect amusement park date as her basis. She manages to answer all the professor's questions and impresses them. Kosuke is even praised by Professor Kaku, despite having called him baldy. Angry, Himuro confronts Yukimura about his hug with Kanade. Himuro becomes angry at Yukimura. Yukimura refuses to feel shame for helping Kanade calm down and berates Himuro for feeling jealous since they aren't even dating yet. Himuro slaps him and leaves crying. Everyone tries to relax at an aquarium but cannot due to Himuro and Yukimura. Himuro asks if Yukimura knows why she is upset, though Kosuke points out this is a legendary relationship question for which there is no right answer the man can give. Yukimura gives scientific reasons for her anger, including her menstrual cycle, so she gets him again. Himuro admits to Kanade she is ashamed for acting emotionally instead of intellectually, whereas Yukimura is disappointed because the aquarium would have been ideal for a high-value kiss. Himuro tells Kanade she was most affected by the statement that she and Yukimura are not dating, so Kanade tells her some jealousy is expected when in love, but rather than talking to Yukimura about it, Himuro adds a jealousy frequency variable to their research, but cannot tell Yukimura since they are fighting. She decides to reconcile with him, and with Kanade and Erika's help, decides to buy Yukimura a personalized glasses case and write an apology thesis. She runs to give it to him, but trips and breaks the case, causing her to run away in embarrassment. Yukimura reads the thesis and decides he must reconcile with Himuro. Kanade becomes concerned when Himuro does not return to their room, so she heads to Yukimura, who is currently working on reconciling with Himuro. Learning that she is missing, he, along with Kosuke and Kanade, conduct a full search in the hotel for her. Amidst it, Ibarata informs them that she saw Himuro head outside the hotel and never returned, as well as that she had tripped on the last step of the staircase, meaning it was physically impossible for her to have broken the glasses case. After hearing from Kanade that Yamamoto was in charge of gift wrapping, Yukimura confronts her outside and she reveals she indeed broke the case, wanting to serve as an obstacle to their reconciliation to generate more drama and material for her manga. Yamamoto then compares herself to Yukimura, two wholly devoted individuals in their fields who will stop at nothing to see results. Yukimura agrees and swears to Yamamoto that he will stop her every attempt to obstruct their research to discover the existence of love. Yamamoto wishes him and Himuro well before revealing Himuro's location, as well as the glasses case she actually bought, the one that broke being a decoy. Yukimura runs off and locates Himuro on a bridge, where he begins criticizing her for her poorly written reconciliation thesis. In the middle of said criticizing, Himuro lets out her emotions and embraces Yukimura on the spot, leading to the two of them sharing a kiss overseeing the sunrise. The two of them regroup with everyone else, and they all return to the university, where they continue their research on love.